Hello, fellow game lovers. So, my hearing is still really, really bad right now, and my ears are buzzing, and it feels like I'm underwater, and that I'm wearing earmuffs still. So, because of that, I don't want to do any Let's Plays until my hearing is better, because, you know, in order for me to do commentary and make fun of the game and mock the game I'm playing, I need to, you know, hear what I'm doing. I need to hear the game. So, until my hearing is better, I'm going to do these little vlogs to sort of express my opinion on video games and crap like that. And, one thing I want to talk about is something I've noticed about the video game industry. And I've noticed it's been this way for a while, for several years already. I would say probably ever since the GameCube, you know, I think that was like, what, Gen 6? Yeah, Gen 6 era of video games, pretty sure. Is that everything needs to be really gritty. Everything needs to be super, super dark. And needs to be extremely violent like Mortal Kombat in order to sell well. I saw a video, even though it was a little dated, it was like made in 2014, I feel like it still brought up a lot of relevant points that are still relevant to 2016. And that is Mario and just Nintendo in general isn't cool anymore. People want stuff like Call of Duty and just your stereotypical AAA titles. And again, I say stereotypical because there has to be, you know, actually creative and cool AAA games too. There has to be. But the stereotype is that you have to have your Call of Duties, you have to have your Assassin's Creeds, and you have to have essentially the exact same game over and 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 over for it to sell well. And you could say, hey, Nintendo's kind of guilty of that too, and they are. They are. They've done that especially with Mario and Pokemon. But with Pokemon, I feel like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. At least with Pokemon, they do try to add in new things. It's not just, like 3 or 4 new game mechanics, and then that's it, call it a new game. They actually add drastic changes to the gameplay with each generation. And from what I can tell, the other games I mentioned do not do that. And I feel like, basically, if it's not super hyper-realistic, it's not cool anymore. You cannot have stylized video games. You cannot have something that is cartoony and sell well anymore. And I find that to be extremely sad. Now, do I, you know, feel like everything should be lighthearted and cutesy? No. I don't mind a good, intense, sad, and, you know, dramatic story. That's part of like why I like Fire Emblem a lot right now. I feel like Fire Emblem almost feels unfitting to be a Nintendo game, and that's what I love about it so much. It doesn't feel like it would be a Nintendo game, just like how Metroid feels very out of place for Nintendo as well. And I honestly believe that's part of why Metroid has just sort of been on hiatus for several years. Like, it's just sort of gone because I feel like Nintendo just doesn't know what to do with it, because it does have more serious tones and themes to it. Same with Fire Emblem, but I guess Fire Emblem just sells better. I don't know. Like, I even, you know, discussed with my friend Magenta about Fire Emblem, and I told him how I'm playing, you know, Birthright, and I feel like I'm thinking to myself as I play, I feel like this needs a little bit of blood. And I'm not just saying, you know, blood for the sake of violence, or, you know, just be super violent for the sake of violence. If done correctly, I feel like blood can be used to emphasize pain, to emphasize the intensity of what is going on. Imagine a show like Dragon Ball Z and all these super hardcore, super iconic battles and deaths that they've had in that anime, but then you remove the blood. That kind of lessens the impact of their pain. That lessens the impact of what they're going through. That's how I see it. So it's not violence for the sake of violence. It's not blood for the sake of blood. It is to emphasize the intensity of the situation. And with Fire Emblem, you know, without that, it feels like no one's really getting hurt. And, you know, that's why, I think that's another reason why permadeath doesn't really affect me. It's like, oh, okay, this person went away, okay. Like, it doesn't really feel like I'm seeing people get hurt, or seeing them die, you know. It's sort of like something I also brought up with him, Magenta, my friend, that in Fire Emblem, without spoiling anything, in Fire Emblem Birthright, there's a character who dies and a sword stabs her in the back, but the shot, like the scene, is done from the front. So you see her face and you see her scream. We don't see her cough up any blood or anything. She just screams, falls into your arms. This is like a first-person point of view, through Corrin's point of view, and then she dies. But I remember I first saw that, and for the first few seconds I thought, oh, okay, she's knocked out, right? And then I hear Corrin sobbing. If it wasn't for the fact that I heard him sobbing, and then he started crying and all that crap, I wouldn't have gotten that indication that the person died. Just because, again, the lack of visual emphasis on her death. The character does not have any blood. The character does not physically look like she was dying. You know what I mean? So I thought she was knocked out. So that's what I mean. Blood to emphasize the situation, to emphasize the pain that the character is going through, to emphasize the wound that they have. It is visual information, basically. Visually telling the player what is going on, you know what I mean? And I just find it sad that I feel like almost every single video game, mainstream video game, feels like it has to be super over the top, super violent. Like, we can't just have a cartoony game. Like, the closest we've ever gotten to a really intense Zelda is Majora's Mask, and I would say Twilight Princess. Those are arguably the most dark and most intense Zelda games. Ocarina of Time, I guess, to an extent. But you see what I mean? It's like, if Nintendo doesn't make any super intense games, then it's like they're being left behind. That's what I feel like. The fact that they are not competing with the other companies is not good, in my opinion. I'm all for marching to the beat of your own drum. I'm all for doing what you want to do and doing what you think is best, and not really caring about other people or what they think. But at the same time, keep an eye on your competition. Keep an eye on what they're doing. Because if you don't, they could do something that is appealing to your audience and then essentially steal them away from you. And that's what's been happening to Nintendo. More and more people are leaving Nintendo for Sony and Microsoft, and preferring their games. And hell, I at one point even considered jumping ship and just giving up on Nintendo too and trying to go for Sony. But and I've always liked Sony. I've never bought into that whole console war bullshit. I've never cared about that crap ever. The way I see it, a console is a console. I'm not loyal to any company. I'm loyal to the games. If a game I really like ends up being on Xbox 360, I'm gonna buy it. That is literally why I bought my Xbox 360. I originally got mine for Rock Band, Guitar Hero, and the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm series. So the company doesn't matter, it's the games, for me at least. And I just feel like it's so sad that Nintendo really is being left behind. Less and less people are caring about Nintendo. Less people don't want to buy their games, or rather more people. I guess more people don't want to buy their games. More people don't want their consoles. Nintendo has definitely fallen from grace. They're no longer the big dogs. They're no longer one of the best companies, at least in my opinion. They're viewed it in a very negative sort of way. If you like Nintendo, people tend to slap the label that, oh, you like kiddie games and you like childish things. You need to grow up and play Xbox 360 or Xbox One and PS4. You need to grow up and play manly games. And I find that stigma stupid, immature, and unnecessary. A video game is just that, a game. It doesn't matter what you play. It doesn't matter what the genre is. It doesn't matter if it's mainstream. It doesn't matter if it's not mainstream. It's all about you. It's your personal preference. It's what you like, and not anything what anyone else says really matters. Hell, that's why I still have games from the Nintendo GameCube era. I still have my GameCube games because I still like games from that era, and heck, I want to pretty soon order Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door off of Amazon because I miss that game and I miss playing it. I sold it because when I was a little kid I couldn't get past a certain point, so I just sold it. I was fed up with it. But you see what I mean? It really doesn't matter. It's all about your preferences. There are people that still play NES games, people who still play the Dreamcast, believe it or not. People who still have the Nintendo 64 and still want to play that. And that's okay. And I feel like if Nintendo just doesn't get their act together and figure out how to appeal to these people who don't like them anymore, who just don't like, you know, Nintendo's kiddie, quote unquote, art style and kiddie, you know, demographic, so to speak, they're gonna lose a lot more people. And I remember even talking to Magenta about this. I do, to an extent, you know, want Nintendo to branch out and reach that older audience, because, you know, the last time I checked, a family is not just a kid. You have the child, you have the teenager, you have the adult. So if Nintendo really wants to be a family-oriented company, they need to appeal outside of kids. They need to try to get more T-rated games. They need to get some M-rated game. I think the only actual Nintendo, I don't even know if they made it. Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, did they make that? I don't think they did. Nintendo published it, right? I'm pretty sure, yeah, they published it, but they didn't make it. So Nintendo themselves have never made an M-rated game, and if they want to appeal to the entire family, they're gonna have to. We need more T-rated Nintendo games, we need more M-rated Nintendo games to appeal to that demographic. And in the end, again, it just comes down to personal preference, because look at me, I'm an adult, and I still like to play rated E games, and I still like to play, you know, T games. So really it just comes down to preference, but for the sake of their demographic, they need to branch out and try to get games more into each target range as well. More T games, more M games. That's how I feel. Even though, again, it's just going to come down to personal preference. The fact that that option is there, the fact that they do have T-rated games, the fact that they do have M-rated games, in case you want to play that, you know, made by Nintendo, I think that would help them out a lot. And I feel like it's sort of sad that in the end Nintendo more than likely is not going to do it, you know. One of the biggest issues for Nintendo is that they are a Japanese company, so what works for Japan might not work here in the US, you know, and what works in the UK might not work in the US or might not work in Japan. You know, like it's about trying to appeal to people besides Japan, and I feel like Nintendo does not know how to do that to an extent, you know, and that's why they're struggling. Sony, I would say they definitely got it. Sony, if I remember right, I think they are also originally from Japan, like Nintendo, but they figured out how to appeal to the American audience and American quote-unquote culture and what's quote-unquote cool in America, like shooters. That's really popular in America. It wasn't always that way. The platformer used to be really cool. The JRPG used to be really cool, but now it's all the shooters. And I wouldn't mind that if there wasn't such a monotony to shooters. I feel like it's just the same thing over and over and over. There has to be some good ones. I know that there has to be obviously good ones out there, but the quote-unquote mainstream ones all feel monotonous and practically the same game. I actually tried playing a shooter at my sister's house. I played multiple shooters. I put like 2 or 3 back to back, and I can honestly tell you I don't know what the hell I played because they look exactly the same. All I know is that one of them had zombies in it, and then another one had the voice actor of Robin from the cartoon Teen Titans on the Cartoon Network. That guy. That voice was in the game. He was the main character, and they were like disembodied voices talking, like ghosts talking to him, and I got to shoot Nazis, like zombie Nazis. That's all I remember. That's all I remember. So that's another big issue with the shooter genre. Everything looks the same. I don't know what the hell I'm playing because of that. And I just find it sad that we're in that state for video games, that Nintendo's being abandoned, Nintendo isn't cool anymore, and the quote-unquote cool thing to do is to be like everybody else and just, you know, make copy-paste games over and over and over and over. And what makes it all the more sad too is that Nintendo kind of already has, but with Mario. You know, New Super Mario Bros. For Wii, New Super Mario Bros. For the DS, New Super Mario Bros. For the Wii U. It's the exact same crap over and over and over. So even Nintendo has sort of done that, you know. And I just find it sad that then on top of that, Nintendo's making really weird business decisions like Animal Crossing, Amiibo Festival, or that Metroid Federation Force, which I wouldn't mind if it came alongside an actual Metroid game. You know, that's why we had, you know, games like Sonic Spinball, a Sonic pinball game. People didn't freak out and complain about that because we still had the actual Sonic the Hedgehog series continuing. That spin-off game was just an addition to it. With Metroid, it's the opposite. The Metroid fans haven't had an actual Metroid game in, like, God knows how long, probably like decades. And then the first Metroid game you get in years is a freaking spin-off game. The last Metroid game we had was Other M, which had very poor reception to it. So, I don't know, it's like from their crappy business decisions, their very weird business decisions, to the fact that they don't make games with a lot of mature themes in them, aside from maybe like Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Fire Emblem. And Metroid, that's really it. They really don't do a lot within terms they are mature themes. So I find it kind of sad, and I find it sad that because of that they've lost a lot of fans. And it makes you wonder, what is Nintendo gonna do? You know, how are they gonna fix this? Can they even fix this? You know, like their marketing with the Wii U wasn't bad enough, but now they got all these issues, you know? And like, how are people supposed to get hyped up for the NX when we don't know what that is? So it's like one issue on top of the other. They're too kiddie. They don't have enough mature-oriented games. And then they have marketing issues. So it's like, what the hell is Nintendo gonna do? What are they doing? It's very frustrating as someone who's grown up with Nintendo and, you know, other consoles too. Like, you know, like I mentioned before, I've had Sony and Xbox 360 for many, many years. You know, my PS2, I mean. But I've always been more of a Nintendo fan. So it's just kind of sad that Nintendo's just stuck. I feel like Nintendo is just sort of stuck in the past. Like, they need to know how to appeal to the way video games are now, while still keeping their integrity, keeping what makes Nintendo Nintendo, but also appeal to how gaming is now, because we're not in the 90s anymore. Platformers are dead. Platformers aren't cool anymore. The only platformers that are left are Sonic, Mario, and now, thanks to the new PS4 game of Ratchet & Clank, now we have them back. Hopefully. We don't even know if that's going to be like a new franchise. We only know that it did really well, but that's it. So, you know, I feel like they need to just make more T games, make more M games, because, you know, that's what, unfortunately, what most people want to play now. You know, if they just stick to being this, you know, quote-unquote kiddie company, they're going to get left behind more and more and more and more, and they're just going to lose more Nintendo fans. And I just find it sad, and I feel like they need to appeal to the way games are now, but again, do not lose their integrity, do not lose what makes them who they are. Keep in mind what makes you who you are, and your ideologies and your values, but also keep in mind that, you know, you need to try to appeal to what is current, you know. So that's how I feel about Nintendo and how they're doing now, and how Nintendo is a kiddie, you know, video game company. Unfortunately, they, you know, just have lost a lot of their appeal because they don't know how to really cater to anyone else besides kids. And then when they do, it's really rare. We only have Fire Emblem, Metroid, and Zelda to an extent, for actual mature themes. So, I don't know. I just find it kind of sad that we're in this state with Nintendo, and it's really their own fault. They need to branch out, and they need to appeal to more people. They need to make more TNN games while still keeping in mind what makes them Nintendo, you know? That's how I feel. Just branch out, try to keep in mind what works in this generation, and stay true to yourself, Nintendo, but also try to make something for the older people too, because family is not just kids. Family is the teenager and the adult. We gotta have more mature themes, in my opinion. So this is Asper Gaming going away, and until my hearing gets better, I'm gonna do more stuff like this, like vlogs and crap like that. And even then, when my hearing does get better and I do more Let's Play games, Let's Play whatever, I'm gonna do this too, because I've wanted to make my channel not just for Let's Plays. It's video game related, so I can do rants, I can do reviews, I can do crap like that, you know, and Let's Plays. This is Asper Gaming going away. I hope you enjoyed my video. Feel free to leave your thoughts on this discussion below, and just tell me what you think. This is Asper going away. Bye.